Welcome in, everyone. I'm Squishable Moon, your shooting star worm on a string with a ranch addiction and fewer brain cells than the common garden snail, and welcome back to my channel. This video is partially going to be a part 2 to my Kinsona video because I got so many comments talking about otherkin and Therians and all kinds of things that I didn't necessarily understand or know much about. The people in the comments seem to be really thankful that I brought up otherkin and kinning up in my Kinsona video, so I wanted to make a whole video dedicated to learning about otherkin since I didn't know much about it. Now, have I heard about otherkin before? I don't really remember hearing about otherkin very much, but I saw a documentary like forever ago where people were talking about wanting to be dogs or seeing themselves as dogs. And I thought that was as far as it went. I just thought it was people who thought they were animals of some sort other than human. But we're going to learn about otherkin today. And I'm going to put a reminder in here. This is my first time going over this subject. I am probably going to get some things wrong. So if I get anything wrong or you want to add on to anything I say in this video, please feel free to comment below. I would love to hear your opinion on it and see what you believe. I will be linking all of my sources in the description below in case anyone wants to check out where I found my information. I do want to say if you identify as otherkin or Therian, you are 100% safe here, and I would never judge somebody based off of what they identify as. So feel free to talk about it in the comments below and know that I will not hate you for anything you say. With that being said, I'm going to go over some definitions that may be important to this video. What is kinning? Kinning refers to a strong identification with or feeling of connection to a fictional character, race, or species, sometimes to the point of believing one is that character in a past life or as their current self. Otherkin is a term for people who identify as partially or entirely non-human. This may identify as a mythological creature, fantasy being, or non-human species. A therianthrope, or Therian, is someone who experiences animal traits. There are some therianthropes who identify as something animalistic, which may or may not have existed on Earth. Therian myths, mythical beasts such as dragons, are among these, and it is an individual's choice if they consider themselves to be a therianthrope or otherkin. Fiction kin are people who identify with or feel a connection to a fictional character or species. They may believe the character or were the character in a past life. And kin type. A kin type is a type of non-human being that a person identifies with, such as animal, mythical creature, or robot. It's a term used online, otherkin, and spiritual community. There are many different kin types, including mermaidkin, elfkin, angelkin, and Therians. Some spiritual beliefs. Some kinning communities are rooted in spiritual beliefs, such as reincarnation or the multiverse theory, which we will get into later in this video, where individuals believe they have, in a past life, been a fictional character or being. Otherkin feel they have a connection, affinity, or some other form of relation with another animal or being. Traditionally, these have been mythological in nature, being with fairies and fae folk and elves and a few other European mythological archetypes. Relatable traits. Kinning often involves identifying with the character's personality, backstory, experiences, or other things, leading to a sense of connection or relatability. Role-playing and community play a big part in this as well. Kinning can involve roleplay and identifying characters, creating content based on the character, and engaging with online communities that share the same interests like the furry community. Misconceptions and criticism. Some people misunderstand kinning as a form of delusion or mental illness, while others criticize it as a form of escapism or a lack of self-identity. The evolution of the term. The term kinning has evolved over time, while some use it more casually to describe a strong connections to a character, while others use it in a more serious to describe a past life or a spiritual connection to a fictional entity. So, stereotypes. Contrary to stereotypes, which have been perpetuated non-stop, most who identify as otherkin are fully aware of their biology as a human existence. Many otherkin have specific spiritual beliefs, however, they do understand that they are in fact in a human body. I think the fact that the rumor has been perpetuated constantly and that people who are otherkin or Therians completely believe that they are an animal despite their physical appearance, while could be a case for some people, most people already know that realistically they are in fact born a human. However, they believe in a life that they could have been, in another life they could have been a human, or that they could have been another creature. This is why they have a spiritual connection to a character or creature they identify as. Of course, this isn't the only stereotype that's going around. Despite so many points of spirituality or identification, many people have come to dislike otherkin based on the concept that they feel an individual is abusing the term or using it as a way to say it's spiritual without merit, which I think is silly to begin with. A little bit about me. I grew up as Buddhist and Wiccan, which might be a weird combination to some, but that's what I grew up as. And I was always raised to believe that every religion and every spirituality has a point and should be allowed to exist, and to never judge people who worship certain thing as long as it's not hurting them or the world. I grew up definitely believing that you need to put good things out there to receive good things, and if it is spirituality is making somebody happy and not hurting them, there's no point to hate on it, especially if it has nothing to do with you. Don't get me wrong, I do understand where some people are coming from. Things that are new are sometimes scary to deal with. I have heard of things being strange to others, things that are new and sometimes coming face to face with things that you've never heard of before are strange. Your first instinct may be to dislike it or attack it. I haven't always been as progressive as I am. I think around the time I was in middle school or high school, I started to develop a more progressive personality. It's definitely taken a lot of trial and error. It isn't something you learn overnight. There were a lot of bad habits and mentality that I had to stop myself from thinking, especially if you grow up with parents who are from an older generation or have a different mindset than you. You might pick up habits that aren't as welcome in the present time. And of course, it's no one's fault for how you were raised, but it is on you to change your mentality when growing up. And if you want to be progressive, if you want to like things like otherkin and support the gays and the trans people and just be progressive as a whole and support spiritualities, you got to put in the effort to be that type of person. Which is why I think it's silly when people hate on people like otherkin. From my point of view, it doesn't seem like otherkin are bad. It just seems like they have a connection that we don't necessarily understand. Of course, otherkin bears a large resemblance to therianthropes, and some consider them to be the same and use the term interchangeably. However, some might feel that it's insignificant difference between the concepts to present them as separate things, while others might be believing they are basically the same thing because they don't know about the history or the communities surrounding them. Regardless, some people see them as the same thing, and some people see the small nuances in it and see them as separate things. Otherkin has come to be associated with people who experience an affinity with animals, creatures, or beings that might not have been alive today and are considered mythological, like fairies, unicorns, and dragons, or something completely unique or alien to our world. In contrast, Therians or therianthropes is heavily connected to affinity in existing real-world animals which have been observed to live today in nature or have lived in the past. Typically, somebody who identifies with fairies, elves, dragons, griffins, unicorns, angelics, demonic beings are usually seen as otherkin, while people who identify with wolves, foxes, bears, big cats, small otters are usually seen as therianthropes. This is not a hard line, and sometimes the two categories do in fact bleed into one another. Now, furries and otherkins. Furries are aware of otherkins and Therians. While furry fandom is generally not based and formed around the exploration of spiritual connections with animals and creatures, many otherkin and therianthropes find a connection to the subject matter of furries appealing because of their own interests. In the opposite direction, many furry fans discover that the otherkin community through the furry fandom, but they can see it as a weird thing because they don't know much about it. Similar to how the furry fandom is seen as a weird sexual thing that people don't always understand, some furries can see otherkin as a weird, controversial thing that doesn't fit in with their, niche. Furries often see them as only being anthropomorphized art characters in that kind of genre, while otherkin can see themselves as the characters. However, I believe that they fit one-to-one together. Therians, you can be a Therian and a furry, but just because you're a furry doesn't mean you're a Therian. They just happen to coincide and fit together perfectly, in my opinion. Opinions definitely vary on who you ask to the association of otherkin and therianthropes in the furry fandom, whether it's negative or positive or just irrelevant. Some people find the association of furry, like I said, only being anthropomorphic animals in art and fiction. However, seeing as it more of a spirituality comes off as, to some, inappropriate when there wasn't a community based on it. However, this is very much similar to how furries and some other people dislike furries and see them as weird. Of course, there is always going to be bad apples in the furry community and in the otherkin community, giving it a bad name, just like furries. In the otherkin community, you're going to have people, especially with Therians, you might have people who want to hurt their animals sexually, or you may have people who are spreading false or bad faith information about otherkin and Therians, making it come off like a weird sexual fetish when it in fact is not. So like I said earlier, there is a multiverse explanation. Some fictionkin believe in the multiverse theory. They may believe that there are many and or limitless parallel universes, some in which fictional characters are in fact real. And if this is true, then theoretically a character could live, die, and be reborn in a different universe. This is a common explanation for many fictionkin spiritualities. The aforementioned would also explain memories of deja vu experienced while reading, watching, or listening to someone that relates to the fictional characters. The multiverse theory also explains why many people also identify as certain characters. The characters could have existed in many different universes, therefore being reborn multiple different times into multiple different people. Some fictionkin, however, are made very uncomfortable when others are the same character as them, also called doubles. For example, those who do not believe the character existed in more than one universe, or who believe that when the character was reborn, they were only reborn into one character, can become uncomfortable when somebody else also uses that same character. So to put it in simpler terms, let's say there are multiple different universes and Pinkie Pie exists in every universe. Pinkie Pie dies and is reborn into a human body. That person feels like they are in fact Pinkie Pie or were Pinkie Pie in another life. However, if they see somebody else who is also, kenning Pinkie Pie and thinks that they are in fact Pinkie Pie or were Pinkie Pie, it can become unsettling or uncanny or uncomfortable to be around them because they feel like that is another person that was born as them and they don't like being around them. My ending thoughts on this: I have never really thought about otherkin until this week. I have never really heard about it much. I mean, I've seen it from time to time and I always thought it was just a silly way of saying you connected to a character, just some random term that people use when role-playing or making fan fiction or making art. And I didn't realize it had so much deep and respectful lore to it, which I thought was really interesting. I definitely have more of a respect for it now after learning about it, instead of seeing it as just something kids do, especially with Therians. I always thought Therians were a little weird personally, because I'm like, who thinks they're an animal in real life? Like, are they gonna use a litter box like a cat? And in fact, that is just a bad faith rumor. No, Therians, while some like to, act out like the animal they are, truly believe and understand that they are a human most of the time. They aren't going around saying, oh, I'm actually a cat, treat me like a cat. They're just regular people who believe that they have animal characteristics that typically fit in with the animal that they identify as. And I think that is a really interesting thing, especially since humans are in fact animals and have, you know, evolved from who knows how many other animals. It makes sense that some of us would have characteristics that are a little bit more animal than others. There is something that I want to discuss that if you guys want me to make a video on, let me know. It is about people who dress up as animals and do sports. I am not really sure what it is called, but usually they dress up as horses and do like jumping stuff. They'll jump over stuff and then pretend that they are a horse. Though that is not always part of a Therian community. Some people can do it just because they find it fun. But if you want me to make a video on that concept, let me know and I will research it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. Make sure to leave a comment down below and ring the notification bell at the top so you can see my comment whenever. And I am going to be letting you guys know that I finally have memberships. For the low price of $1 or 99 cents, you will be able to see my content before other people do. You will also get priority when I am commenting on people's replies in the comments. And you will get special streams and other things like that. I am so happy that we finally made it here. It makes me so freaking happy. Thank you guys so much for all of the love in the comments that I have gotten. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And with that being said, I hope all of you have an amazing day. I hope all your dreams come true. Bye bye.